Have you ever had a gun pulled on you?
Nope.
How lethal a spy were you?
0. My weapon was my mind, my brain. I was an intellectual spy. I talked to them every other year in person. I used letters with secret writings, and they sent me information via Morse code, shortwave, encrypted, once a week. There was no trust relationship inside the KGB. The Jack Barsky identity was a stolen identity. And I loved her so much that I defied the KGB when they ordered me to go back home. I said, I'm not coming. I wanted to stay with her. That was a huge risk that I took.
Could they have killed you?
Possibly. That I would wind up in jail, or the KGB would come after me. And yet, love trumped all of that.
Hey guys, it's Carlos Watson. I've come to Austin, Texas to talk to a new friend, to talk to Jack Barsky. Jack wasn't born Jack. I'm not even going to try and pronounce Albrecht, but was born in East Germany, has an incredible life story. You're going to enjoy it. He entitles his story, Love Conquers All. That's all I have to say. How many former spies have a story that's entitled Love Conquers All? Or what did you call it?
An undercover love story.
An undercover love story. You're going to love Jack Barsky if you don't already.
He is back. Emmy Award-winning journalist. He's interviewed presidents, rebels, icons, thinkers. He is Carlos Watson.
Tell me again what your born name was.
Okay. I hate to say it because Americans then try to repeat it and can't. It has two sounds in there that Americans have a hard time with. The first name was Albrecht. Oh, that's only one sound, and the last name was Dietrich. But there's also an R in there that my daughter Chelsea actually decided to get rid of the Barsky name, and she changed it to Chelsea Dietrich, but she pronounces it as Dietrich.
That is kind of very American melting pot. Okay, all right. Maybe there's something there's something beautiful and symbolic. How lethal a spy were you?
0. This hand never touched a weapon.
Was it a weapon?
No, my weapon was my mind, my brain. I was an intellectual spy.
But you never had to kill. You never had.
Oh no.
Maim. You never. Had
No.
to neutralize.
No. Not even close. Not even a hint. I told you, I never had weapons training.
But didn't they train you? They must have trained you on that. If they were giving you, if they only were going to send 10 of you to the U.S. and they were giving you such a high stake, such a dangerous assignment, that seems almost to defy logic that there wouldn't be some lethal component.
It does, but here's the thing. I was when I was first sent, I was told my task was foreign policy espionage. Befriend people who make foreign policy or influence foreign policy and report back. That's what I was told. Well, it wasn't everything, because when the KGB got disbanded, there were some couple of ex-heads of the directorate as illegals that gave interviews and also talked about us illegals. And what both of these guys that were interviewed stated was that the most important thing of us illegals being in the United States was us illegals being in the United States, and I tell you why. Now I'm putting things together. This was towards the end of the Cold War.
Late 80s.
Late 80s. The most successful agents for the KGB in those days were two molds, Aldrich Ames and Robert Hanssen, Ames,
Meaning Americans.
American citizen, moles.
Yeah.
They sold out for different reasons, but Ames for money and Hanssen because he felt like he was underappreciated, and he just hated the FBI that he was working for. So they both volunteered to give secrets to the Soviet Union, and they gave incredibly valuable information to the KGB. So now add to this that towards the end of the Cold War, there was a war of intelligence agencies, the CIA versus the KGB. So, and almost all the agents in both countries were the diplomats, okay? And if the diplomats were found to be engaged in things that had nothing to do with diplomacy, they were kicked out. And then the other side kicked one of our people out, and back and forth and back. And there were situations when 3 or 4 diplomats were kicked out. So the then president and ex-head of the KGB, oh, no, I forget his name. Hold on a second. Yuri Andropov.
Yuri Andropov.
Was concerned that when diplomatic relations would be broken, that influence or that flow of intelligence from Ames and Hanssen and a couple of other guys there was no more flow. It was us that were going to take over, okay? And I'm speculating, but it makes a lot of sense.
So how often were you talking to them? Once a week? Once a month?
No. I talked to them every other year in person, okay? I never met another agent in the United States. The talking was through, I used letters with secret writings, and there's not a lot of information you can put into one letter. And they sent me information via Morse code, shortwave, encrypted, once a week.
But what were you getting? What were you giving them that was valuable? Because there's a reason they kept you here for a decade, right? What were you giving them?
And I told you again, me being here was the most important thing for them. I didn't know that. What I gave them that I think may have been valuable, but I never got any feedback. Number one, I operated as a spotter. That means I identified talent that either have access to secret information or could have access to secret information, and who had some kind of a vulnerability, meaning a belief in a certain ideology, whatever ideology. It doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be communism. Could be global warming. And just like you recruit. As a matter of fact, the KGB preferred to recruit based on ideology, not money, because money can, somebody else can pay more. So I profiled, particularly when I was in college, I profiled a bunch of students who were good candidates to possibly being approached. I never got any feedback. Of course they wouldn't, because if they tell me, then I shouldn't know about this stuff, right? Because then I can give away a secret. I give away another agent. So, that could have been of value. As I said, I don't know. What actually was of value, believe it or not, once every 2 months or so, they asked me to write a report about the reaction of the American people to certain global events. And why was that valuable? Because us illegals were the only ones who actually interacted with Americans who thought we were fellow Americans, who wouldn't hold back. The agents, all of them spoke with an accent, and they were outsiders. So if you're an American, you just you guard yourself a little bit. So, the agents, what they did, most likely they copied stuff from the New York Times and the Washington Post and sent it back to Moscow because they were the experts. Now, we illegals had more expertise in what Americans were thinking. And this is one time when I actually sent a searing critique back to Moscow. When the Korean airliner was shot down.
Yes.
And I said, what are you guys doing when we were like going towards détente and reduction of tensions, and you do that? And I supported this with the opinion of Americans. I'm not sure they liked my critique, but I couldn't help myself. I was still trying to be a good puppy, serving the cause.
Yeah. Have you ever had a gun pulled on you?
Nope.
Have you ever felt like you were at risk of being killed or in other ways
Nope.
compromised? Interesting. So you had a very different spy experience than the ones that we see on TV and in the movie.
100%, yeah.
And did you think of yourself as a spy? Did you say to yourself, "I'm a spy"?
I became an American. Just like I didn't. I did what I had to do, but like I wasn't walking around every day like thinking, "Oh, I'm a spy." No. I did my job. It was a job. Okay, be an American, live like an American, and just send us something that is of value. The thing is, the longer you live as an illegal, the more you get legal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that is why they eventually wanted me back home, because the life of an illegal is limited, because if we do our job really well, we want to stay.
Jack Barsky is Jason Bourne. Kinda. Former KGB spy. He's lived a hell of a life. So did anyone ever get close to sniffing you out in your mind, to your knowledge?
Yeah, a friend of mine. He one time.
White American?
Yeah.
White, black, Latino?
Very, very sharp guy. He was a colleague at MetLife. He was one of those programmer guys. And one day he came to and that is when I worked for another company already. And he was a vendor for that company, and he walked into my office and he says, "Jack, there's something about you that doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't compute. And now I'm not going to dig any further. I'm just telling you, one of those days, maybe I'll find out." And he was the first one I told when I came out of the closet that he was right. There was an instinct somehow.
But did he know? Had he actually done, as a computer researcher, computer programmer, he hacked around and he...
No, there was just this instinct that possibly because of the way I expressed myself, my accent, whatever, or possibly when I didn't talk a lot about my past in the U.S., right?
But the police never hauled you in to interrogate you?
No, nothing.
Or you never...
No.
Your handlers never said, "You're getting hot. There seemed like there was a problem."
Nope. It was only at the end when somebody apparently must have told them there's an illegal who is in danger of being arrested, and they thought it was me. Something like that. That's that. But other than that, nothing. No. The answer to all your questions is no.
So the FBI approached you what year?
Yeah. Oh, God. 10 years after I quit. So 88, 2008, I believe, roughly in that neighborhood.
Okay, so 20 years after you quit.
No, 10.
So you quit in 88, and they approached you in 98? Or they approached you in 2008?
98, I'm sorry. Bad math.
So they approached you in 98?
Yeah.
Interesting. But this...
I may be wrong. I would have to look it up. But
okay. But the 60 Minute story, though, doesn't happen until 2015.
That's correct.
So many years go by.
Yeah, and I'm in Germany, and and Richard had to come to my house, and wow. Yeah, I had to be in upstate New York at that time. So I have a file because I keep forgetting the dates. I have.
Did you get fired from your job? Did they fire you from your job?
They tried, but there was no reason. I didn't break any rules in that company, so we decided on an amicable separation.
But you're saying you would have made more money if you had stayed, and you would have been more financially secure.
And I would have gotten retirement money.
And you ended up not getting retirement.
And nope, I got Social Security. So that's why one of the reasons I'm still working, but it's not, I would be working no matter what, okay? Because I love what I'm doing. I love to share what I learned from this life. When one of my favorite sayings is, if you lived as long as I have lived and have had such a variety of life, and you have been going through life observant, conscious, if you're not wise at that point, the word wisdom has no meaning. So I'm not bragging about it. It's just like it happened to me. And I have so much to share with individuals as well as groups. I give keynote speeches, and I do mentoring.
Would you ever consider being a spy?
Yeah, I feel like that'd be fun. Yeah, low key. Yeah. I would. I just don't want to get caught. But it'd be fun. Yeah.
You may or may not have perspective on this, but I have sat down with former directors of the CIA. I've sat down with heads of state and others, and I've always been kind of interested in intelligence agencies. Who do you think has the most talented intelligence service in the world? Do you have a perspective on that?
The Mossad.
You think the Mossad is the most talented intelligence group?
Yes, and they also have a huge advantage in that they have Arab nationals in their ranks.
Say more.
The same way that East Germany, the Stasi was so successful in invading West Germany. There's no cultural difference. And East Marcus Wolf, are you familiar with that name?
Yes.
He had agents in the highest ranks in the West German government, and I guarantee you the Mossad has insiders amongst the enemy for sure. And actually, the old the communist Cuban intelligence network was very, very good in that respect. They sent them over here and they integrated in society, and you never knew.
It's interesting. Countries that are small and that feel surrounded end up developing strong intelligence agencies, you're saying, meaning Cuba and Israel.
Yeah, and that's important for survival, particularly, we're talking about Israel. I mean, they're surrounded by enemies, and it's amazing how they have persisted and most likely will persist beyond like the enemy's lifespan.
How talented is the CIA, do you think?
I'd rather not say, because the only CIA people that I know are retired CIA, and they're good friends.
But they missed the end of the Cold War. They missed 9/11.
Everybody did. Everybody missed the end of the Cold War. 9/11, I don't know. Yeah, and I think the problem is with the CIA is that they have gone rogue more often than not. For instance, the overthrow of Allende in Chile was uncalled for. And there was a couple of other things like, going rogue, it means, special ops, like it's not intelligence gathering. And I think that very often backfires.
Interesting. And so when I hear you speak English now, maybe it's because I know where you're from.
You hear a bit of an accent.
I hear more of an accent than meaning if I had met you and you spoke English this way in the late 70s or 80s, I would know that you hadn't been born in the U.S. I would know that you hadn't been born in upstate New York. Did you sound the same way?
No, I was born in New Jersey.
Oh, so you use more of a New Jersey? You use
no. The Jack Barsky identity was a stolen identity. That Jack Barsky was a young man who passed away at the age of 5, and a diplomat, a KGB agent who operated in Washington D.C., found a gravestone in a Maryland cemetery, and believe it or not, he was able to acquire Jack Barsky's birth certificate, authentic. Okay, there's no forgery involved, and this is who I became, Jack Barsky, and that Jack Barsky was born in New Jersey.
And so did you adopt, like, do you sound the same today as if I had met you in 1995,
I
1985?
don't think so. First of all, I'm not as careful trying to pronounce 100% correct. Secondly, I've lived in this country for too long. As far as my ability to express myself, English is significantly better than German. Significantly better. I mean, I wrote a book that is very readable, and on, you ask me the right question, I can come up with some interesting answers on the spot. My brain is wired to think in English. As a matter of fact, it was in my second year here in the U.S. I proudly shared with the center, Moscow, that I now dream in English.
Oh, you know what? My best friend's mom used to say that's how you know when you can truly speak another language, when you dream in it.
Exactly.
Interesting. So did you ever meet Putin?
No. I tell you why. Putin was deployed in East Germany at a time when I was already here.
And did you hear his name before he rose to prominence?
Not at all. No. He was a nobody. He was a nobody, and even if he had been somebody, I wouldn't have heard his name, because what the KGB was really good at is keeping everything secret, and just limiting what people get to know and who people get to know, so they can't betray anybody, because they didn't trust one another. There was no trust relationship inside the KGB.
Probably because they saw all the crazy things that we all do behind the curtains.
Yeah. So Vladimir Putin, let me volunteer that, was not a super agent. That is the tale that he spins, and he allows others to spin. Now think about it, and this is just pure logic. He was trained with a bunch of other people, and he was very good acquiring the German language. Now, if you have a really good agent, during the height of the Cold War, where do you send him? To East Germany? At Dresden? He operated as a bureaucrat, okay? You send a German-speaking agent in those days, you would send him to Austria, Switzerland, West Germany, or even to the UK as a diplomat. He was a liaison to the Stasi, and I got that logic that I applied was confirmed by an ex-boss of his, Oleg Kalugin. Oleg Kalugin still lives in the United States. He was in charge of counter-espionage at the first directorate, that's espionage, and Vladimir reported to him at one time, and I met Oleg, and Oleg had nothing good to say about Vladimir as an agent.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you look at Putin now, what do you ascribe his success to?
Oh, first of all, when he was in the KGB, he was an outstanding networker. He knew instinctively the value of a network. And so when the Soviet Union fell apart, there's a lot of ex-KGB agents who wound up in important positions. He was a very good networker. He was also a very good organizer. And Russia, post the USSR, was chaotic, particularly under Yeltsin. Yeltsin was a horrible president. And so Putin started working with, I forgot his first name, Sobchak, who was the mayor of St. Petersburg. and did really well organizing things. And he was always very careful not to make any enemies. Stay in the shadows, appear to be not dangerous to anybody. And so when Sobchak suggested suggested to Yeltsin to hire Vladimir, Yeltsin took him, and Vladimir did the same thing. You're just in the background. And when Yeltsin was forced to retire because of health reasons, he appointed Vladimir. You know why? Because Yeltsin had dirt on him, and he knew that Vladimir wouldn't come after him. And when Vladimir took power, he showed his true colors. The first time he did a major action, he put some oligarchs that didn't want to play ball in jail. And what really makes him such a successful politician, he understands the Russian soul as no other politician in Russia.
And what do you mean by that? Because I hear people say that all the time. What do you mean by that? What is the Russian soul?
Okay, two things. Because I got a little exposure to Russian culture. First of all, the Russian mentality is a peasant mentality. Russia was, when it was formed, there was a bunch of peasants, and then the Tsar and the upper class and some intellectuals and so forth. And I remember I once, as a child, I watched a Russian movie. It was a silent movie, and the hero was one of those giants, and the giant was like weakened, severely weakened, and then what he did, he went down on the ground and touched the earth and rose again. That's Russian culture, okay? So that's number one. And that's Vladimir is excellent in reading that. And the other thing is Russia, from its birth, was both an aggressive nation and was also being invaded all the time. They went out and tried to conquer more territory, and then they were being invaded. From the east, the Mongols; from the south, the Turkey; from the north, the Vikings; and then from the west, we got Napoleon. And so the Russian soul has a mentality of being besieged all the time, and this is what Vladimir plays extremely well. When he talks about Ukraine having a bunch of Nazis, there are Nazis in Ukraine, but they don't rule Ukraine. So and the bottom line is he has been elected multiple times, and these elections were partially fraudulent, but the people vote for him, this guy, and they're still supporting him now.
And they support him, you're saying, because he represents a strong Russia?
Yes.
But are they also living better now today than when he first started?
No, they don't. In the cities maybe, but as soon as you go out the country, 50 miles outside of Moscow, St. Petersburg, some of these villages don't have electricity.
Still?
Yes, still. Yeah. But the whole idea that the Russians always wanted a strong man to protect them from the invasions coming from the outside, and so this is what makes Vladimir what arguably the most successful politician in recent history in the world. I mean, he is hanging on to his position, even though the Russian people have not seen improvement in their standard of living, and now they lost a lot of people already, hundreds of thousands of people in the war, and the Russians still support him.
It really is such an extraordinary life you've been blessed to have, and I mean it all. I mean the fact that you run, I mean the fact that you have your health, the fact that you have your mind, the fact that you've been able to transition to different phases of it along the way, that you went from chemist to spy to bike messenger to CIO, like all of that. Even
Author, speaker.
Mentor, coach. You've had different parenting journeys in different ways. This journey in love, discovering unconditional love and experiencing that. It really is, just as I take it in, it really is. It's remarkable, and I appreciate it, and I'm thinking about it and processing it a little bit as it goes along. Hey, I was fascinated by my conversation with Jack Barsky for so many reasons, but one of the things that I've never heard him talk about, not in the 60 Minutes conversation, not any of the other interviews, is the fact that he fell in love with black skin and only ended up marrying black women. Now, I gotta say, he's got good taste, but it was fascinating that no one's ever asked him about it. And what a fascinating conversation we ended up having. Well, what was your experience like dating and marrying interracially in the States in the 1970s and 1980s? Because you got to see the racial conversation from a very interesting point of view.
I sort of ignored it. Okay, my first girlfriend was a black woman. And we spent about one season together, and we got too close. I was still, I wasn't fully established and everything, so I had to just, separate. And then I went to college in the U.S., and I chased after every exotic-looking girl, and I struck out every time because they were too young for me, right? And then what happened was the Village Voice ad actually yielded somebody who was very attractive. And it's a young lady from Guyana. We met in Greenwich Village in a restaurant. Oh, she was so good looking, and she was sweet and wonderful. So we dated, and then we became an item. But you know the story, don't you? She was illegal. Okay, and she asked me, "Could you marry me?" I said, "Huh? Well, I married a guy already. I paid him $10,000, and here I am without a green card. I'm still illegal." So I did some research, and I said, I had documentation at the time. I had a driver's license. I had this birth certificate, and I had a social security number. So I filed for her. I married her, filed for her, and then she decided to make it more permanent. I told her that, once you get the green card, we're going to get a divorce. I'm not the marrying kind. And she decided otherwise. She got pregnant on purpose. And that's when this one was born, the one in the middle there.
Beautiful Chelsea.
Beautiful Chelsea, beautiful child. Changed my life. Changed my life. This woman not knowing what she did, and this child obviously had nothing to do with it. She just was there, right? But her presence made a human being out of me. You understand, a human being, a good human being, needs to understand what unconditional love is. And this girl couldn't give me anything back but a smile. And I loved her so much that I defied the KGB when they ordered me to go back home. I said, I'm not coming. I wanted to stay with her. That was a huge risk that I took.
Could they have killed you?
Possibly, if they had interpreted my refusal to obey the order as a defection. But I took care of that by telling them that, I got sick. I was infected with HIV/AIDS.
You told them that?
I told them that, yeah.
Did they believe you?
You bet. I didn't know that at the time, but I have evidence. Like my German son remembers that there was a KGB guy notifying my German family that I died from AIDS. As a matter of fact, a high school classmate of mine who worked in the archives, German archives, found that I'm still listed as having died, Albrecht Dittrich, having died in 1988. I'm still dead. The German of me is still dead.
What a hell of a way to move.
Well, there's I have the distinction of having been resurrected twice. Jack Barsky died, and that's Jack Barsky is here. I mean, it's a stupid joke, right? And the German is still alive.
Yeah. Right. He's as was that Monty Python? He says, "I'm not dead yet," and so
yeah, you got to have a sense of humor if you live the life like mine, or else you're just gonna go crazy.
Do you ever see the movie The Lives of Others?
Yes.
Which was about East Germany and then the aftermath.
Very good movie. Loved it.
And how real was that?
That was real. It was about family members betraying other family members, and children testifying against their parents and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that happened primarily in the Soviet Union, but also in East Germany.
Did you or anyone in your family ever testify against each other?
No. The only discussion I ever had with regard to politics and policy was with my mother, and she was mildly in disagreement with my hardcore communism. But
you were hardcore communist?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. How can you not believe in the communist ideal that everybody can get along, and we free all the oppressed people in the world from the oppressors? There were enough examples of oppressed people. Now, what we were taught, that there were a lot of oppressed people in the West, in the Western nations, that was false. There were some. When I came to the U.S., I noticed that early on that this was a falsehood. That doesn't mean there weren't and there aren't people that are being exploited in this country, but it's not systematic. Thank God, not yet.
So for people who are watching, what is going on? What is this?
It's a protest for the killings that ICE is doing in Minneapolis. Yeah. We're out here in Austin saying, we don't tolerate that here in Austin, here in Texas.
Do you think change, like in your heart of hearts, do you think real change can actually happen?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do.
Why?
Because I truly, at my core, I believe that love will always win. Like, yes, right now it is very hard to see that, but there's love all around us. There's love here between us. There's love with you guys.
Yeah.
There's love here. We don't know each other, but there's love here, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
So I believe at the end of the day that will win.
Love is greater than fear. Wow. What are the two? If you do think about it, I mean, you were born in 1949, shortly after the war.
Yeah.
You were born the same year as Meryl Streep and Billy Joel, Lionel Richie.
Oh,
Richard Gere, all those guys. Benjamin Netanyahu. All of you guys were born in 1949.
How did you know that? How do you remember all that?
Just curious. I've always loved kind of years and as you said, you called them patterns. I've always loved patterns and things like that. What are your 2 or 3 biggest pieces of life advice? Like if literally your kids were here, your 5 kids were here, 3 boys, 2 girls, and if you knew that this was going to be the last conversation.
You were asking me the same question that a young lady asked me when I gave a keynote speech at Microsoft headquarters. After we were all done, she raised her hand and she asked the same question. What's the biggest lesson? And that was the first time somebody asked that question. I had to think about it for about maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then I came up with the only good answer that I could possibly give, and love conquers all. And I forgot his name, there's a interesting philosopher who I just caught on YouTube talking about instincts and love and all this stuff, and this fellow says love is the most powerful weapon that you have. And in my case, I lived it, and I wasn't aware of it when it happened.
And when you think about the love you've had, I don't want to put words in your mouth, which is why I'm asking you, even though I think I know some of the answer to this.
I'm sure you do.
Where have you had love?
The true love is unconditional love, and that is when I fell in love with this girl Chelsea, because as I think I said it before, I wasn't even aware how much I loved her when I was had to make the decision to leave her or stay. And leaving her would have been nothing but good for me. I had received the second highest decoration of the Soviet Union 2 years prior of them calling me back. I was in good standing. I had money back saved. I had a family in Germany. And everything over there was good for me. And everything over here, staying here, was risky, high risk, that I would wind up in jail or the KGB would come after me. And yet, love trumped all of that. And that's when I said love conquers all. I mean, I couldn't have had a more important decision to be made in my entire life. And so I'm now living my life distributing love to the extent I can. And I treat people lovingly regardless of whether they deserve it or not. And I tell you why. If I make my love that's in here dependent on somebody else, then I'm losing control over what's so important to me.
Hey guys, it's Carlos Watson. Hey, thank you for all of you guys who've begun to watch and subscribe to the show. I think we're building something really special here. I wanted to ask you to consider taking another step in supporting us on Patreon. Whether you do $10, $25, or whatever you feel comfortable with, please know that we'll be grateful. We cannot do this on our own. We are being as cost effective as we can. We are flying overnight flights. We're staying in motels, but we want to bring you the best and most interesting stories, and we need your support. We need your active help to do it. So please don't delay. Don't say you're going to do it another day, another week. If you're serious about this podcast, if you're serious about this kind of independent journalism, please support us today. I'd be enormously grateful.